You know, when you want to overthrow a king and build something totally new, it doesn't happen in some quiet meeting. For the ancient Romans, it all started with a horrific crime, a public suicide, and a bloody dagger raised in the name of freedom. This is the story of how a deeply personal tragedy sparked a massive political revolution and gave birth to the Roman Republic.
This is what lit the fuse. It was sworn by a man named Lucius Junius Brutus, and he swore it over the body of a noblewoman, Lucretia. You see, the king's own son, Sextus Tarquinius, had used his power to assault her. It was a brutal act that came to symbolize everything that was wrong with the monarchy: the corruption, the arrogance, the tyranny.
But this wasn't just a private tragedy hidden behind closed doors. Lucretia refused to live with the dishonor that was forced on her. So she gathered her husband and her father, she told them exactly what happened, and she made them swear they would get vengeance. And then she took her own life, right in front of them. It was this incredibly brave and devastating act that turned a crime against one person into a cause for everyone. It became a rallying cry against the king himself.
And the people of Rome? They heard that cry. Led by Brutus, they rose up and literally drove the king and his entire family out of the city for good. And in the year 509 BC, the monarchy was officially over. In its place, the Romans created the res publica, which literally means the public thing or the people's affair. And it was all founded on one single, unshakable principle. Never, ever again would one man hold absolute power in Rome.
Okay, so how do you build a government from the ground up with that one goal in mind, making sure a king can never rise again? Well, the Romans' answer was to create a system that was basically designed to be afraid of power, to contain it at every turn.
Their solution was a system of public officials, or magistrates, and it was defined by three brilliant rules. First, power was always shared. No one person ever held an important office alone. Second, the terms were short, like really short, usually just 1 year. And third, these jobs were unpaid. It was seen as a civic duty, not a way to get rich. Every single one of these rules was a direct shot at preventing any one person from getting too powerful.
So instead of a king who ruled for his entire life, the new republic was led by two consuls. They had the top job, the supreme executive power, but, and this is the genius part, only for 1 year. And, crucially, each consul had veto power over the other one. They could literally just say no and block the other's actions. Just like that, power was split right down the middle.
Now, below the consuls, you had other important officials, like the praetors. Their main gig was running the legal system. They were like the chief justices of their time, interpreting the laws, running the courts, and just making sure the whole machine of Roman justice kept on running.
So, you had these popular assemblies that would vote on laws and elect all these magistrates, sure, but the real, lasting power, that lay with the Senate. This was basically a council of elders, all from Rome's most powerful aristocratic families. They controlled the money, foreign policy, they pretty much guided the whole state. The consuls and praetors would come and go every year, but the Senate was forever.
But here's the thing. This new republic, this government designed to be free from kings, it wasn't exactly a paradise of equality. In fact, it created a brand new conflict, a deep and dangerous divide right inside the city walls. Rome basically became a city of two different peoples.
And this really lays out the whole problem. On one side, you've got the patricians. They were the wealthy, landowning aristocrats who controlled everything, the government, the religion, all of it. And on the other side, the plebeians, the common people. We're talking farmers, craftsmen, the majority. They fought in the army, they paid the taxes, but they were totally shut out from power. And worse, they lived under the constant fear of being sold into slavery if they fell into debt.
Something had to give. And in 494 BC, the plebeians finally hit their breaking point. In what was basically the first general strike in recorded history, they did something incredible. They just left. They walked out of Rome en masse, climbed the nearby Aventine Hill, and refused to do anything. No working, no farming, and critically, no fighting in the army. The city just ground to a halt.
The patricians were stuck. They couldn't run the city, and they definitely couldn't defend it without the plebeians. This desperate, brilliant act of protest forced the ruling class to the negotiating table. And what came out of it were two huge victories for the common people, victories that would change Rome forever.
Their fight for justice really boiled down to two game-changing wins.
So, the first victory was the creation of their own champions, the tribunes of the plebe. These were officials elected only by the plebeians, specifically to protect them, and they were given this unbelievable power, a true political weapon, the veto. A tribune could block any law, any act from any other magistrate, even a consul, if they thought it would harm the people.
And to make sure the tribunes could actually do their job without being intimidated or, murdered, they were declared sacred and inviolable. Now, that wasn't just a fancy title. It meant that anyone who physically harmed a tribune could be killed on the spot with no trial. Their bodies were literally protected by divine law. They were untouchable.
The second victory was just as massive. See, up until this point, Roman law wasn't written down. It was just a tradition, a secret, known only to the patrician judges who could basically interpret it however they wanted to. The plebeians demanded that the laws be written down for everyone to see. The result? The Laws of the 12 Tables, a legal code carved into bronze and put right in the middle of the forum.
And that's the whole point right there. The law was no longer a secret weapon that the powerful could use against the weak. By making it public, by writing it down so anyone could read it, they made sure that justice, whether you were rich or poor, was based on the same set of rules that applied to everybody.
So, from a violent uprising against a king to a peaceful strike for civil rights, the early Roman Republic was really forged in this constant struggle for justice. And it leaves us with a question that honestly still echoes today. What does it really take to make sure the law isn't just a bunch of rules, but a shield that truly and equally protects everyone?